inning. This is the Score North First Place Twins show.
First Place Twins show.
Live from Bombasota, the land of 10,000 rakes, where the magic number is 45. I'm Ramie Makhlouf, along with Eric Wetmore, Manny Hill. Do we have to talk about the intro to open the show and what changes need, if any, to be made to that?
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick.
Should I still be mentioning magic numbers when they're tied for first?
Okay, well, that part.
Should we say it's the Score North First Place Twins show?
Okay, here's what we're going to do.
It is still Bombasota. They're still hitting bombas.
The Twins don't play tonight. They have an off day before going to Milwaukee.
Right.
The Indians do play tonight. So for Monday's show, here we record it weekdays at noon, the Score North First Place Twins show.
Today.
They're tied in first place. They're
They
first
are
place.
In first place. I even looked to see if there was like a percentage point difference, and there isn't.
Oh, no.
They both have the
Dead
same.
even.
Yeah, dead even.
44 games to go for both teams, identical records. The season comes down to the final 44. So we can say one series at a time and all that stuff still applies. Magic number.
Should I drop
let's
that
go with
for
it.
now?
I don't know.
Manny,
hey,
what do you say?
I
Should
need
we
a
keep
vote
the
here.
magic number in the intro?
Right now, since they're tied, I would say no.
No magic number?
No magic number.
Because the Indians could say the same thing.
Because the Indians are in first place. The Indians, technically, I guess, have a magic number too. So
for the
both
first
teams are
time
in
in a
first
while.
place.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, if there's an Indians show on whatever sports talk there is going on in Cleveland,
they can do whatever they want to.
We're not going to stop them. They can say it's the First Place Indians show, and the magic number is 45. That's fine. We won't stop you.
Somebody asked me if we were going to change this to the First Place Indian show, and to that I say, hell no.
Well,
this
Danny
is the Twins
Cunningham,
show.
resident Indians fan here on the station, is not here today, so we don't have to
It's the Twins
appease
show.
him in any way.
Somebody asked me on Twitter, and I'm like, no.
So the Indians take 3 out of 4, and division now tied 7-3. The final in that one, like I said, on the Carlos Santana Grand Slam. And I would like to come in here and be real level-headed, and have some perspective, and talk about what a good series and hard-fought series it was, and blah blah blah. But the only thing on my mind right now is that call to send the runner in the 9th inning, and likely cost yourself the game. And not okay, bad decision. It was a bad decision, and I was watching it when it happened, and then the Grand Slam happened, and as soon as the Grand Slam happened, I had a movie to catch across the street from my apartment, so I walked out, and I didn't really give it much thought after that. I was like, bad decision to send the runner, tough loss, but we move on. They're still tied for first, blah, blah, blah. To wake up this morning, got done with the movie, went home, took a long hot shower, had a good dinner. It was a really relaxing Sunday night, Derek Wetmore. To wake up this morning and see Tony Diaz stand by that decision. Now, we heard Rocco Baldelli defend Tony Diaz. I got no problem with that. When you're a manager, you don't throw your guys under the bus. But Tony Diaz has got to own this. He's got to wear this today, because that, and on Saturday, sending CJ Cron, who got thrown out by a mile. Terrible calls. Terrible calls by Tony Diaz. And I don't mind you making a mistake, but own the mistake, dude. That's where I got a problem, because for him to say, I thought Adrianza had a really nice read. He was almost at second when the ball went over Naquin's head, and then winning run, pushing the envelope a little bit. 2 perfect throws required, and we're going to take a chance every time 2 perfect throws are required. I'll take that shot any day. Anything deviating from perfection, we win. It's how it goes. Now, I'm a believer that if it's going to take 2 perfect throws, you send the guy. I'm a believer in that. But not in the bottom of the 9th with only 1 out, where almost any contact is going to win that game for you. Following that, almost any contact wins the game for you. You walk out with a division lead, a series split, which you would be happy with to come out of that series with. And on top of that, it didn't even take 2 perfect throws. And I'm tired of seeing people this morning back him up and say, yeah, it took 2 perfect throws. It didn't. They made 2 perfect throws, and great read on the ball and grabbing it with the bare hand. They made a perfect relay, but there could have been a bobble somewhere in there, and they still would have had him. That's how far out he was.
Lindor was the cutoff guy, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Lindor could have bobbled that ball and still nailed Adrianza by 4 or 5 feet.
I don't know how you wake up. I don't know how you go and defend that decision if you're Tony Diaz, dude.
Yeah.
I don't mind making mistakes, but own it. There is no defending that decision right there. I'm sorry. None whatsoever. None. Zero Zip, zilch, none.
So you say you wanted to wake up and be calm and level-headed.
Yeah.
And then all you can think about is the throw. And the decision to send the runner that precipitated the throw. I think it's fair to say this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Manny. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ramie. I am fairly level-headed about this stuff. I'm just even-keeled. I don't get mad about things very often, unless you're talking about the English Premier League. But like baseball stuff and sports in general, I'm just kind of okay. I could see the merits in that. I try to play it down the middle. So Ramie, I'll play that role today for you, unless you think I'm ill-suited for it. But even as a level-headed guy, hey, this thing ain't over. Twins still win the division. 44 games to go, one series at a time. It's pretty hard to sit here and say that Tony Diaz made the right decision to send Ehire Adrianza. And before that Rocco Baldelli made the right decision to pinch run Adrianza instead of Jake Cave, a guy who's actually a fast runner. So that one stings if you're the Twins. That comeback was going to come to fruition against one of the better closers, certainly in the division, but maybe across all of baseball in Brad Hand. I'm not saying you had that game won, but you were right there. You were knocking on the door of winning that ball game. I think sending that guy.
You had second and third with one out. One out.
And for Jonathan Scope, who struggles in close and late situations this year, he hasn't been a good hitter. That's maybe a part of your thought process. You're
but
thinking
at least
like,
you have two chances.
you get Max Kepler after that.
You have Max Kepler up after that.
That's the part that I think. And we should say, as long as we're giving a very thorough analysis of this, we should say, how hard is that to compute all that stuff in real time in the exact moment? Oh, Scope's up next and he's not good, so we should send him. Oh, but Kepler, like, no. If you thought about that long, you already lost.
Yeah.
You already lost. You had to know going into the play your level of comfort with sending a guy. I like the fact that getting a guy thrown out the night before didn't make him gun shy about it. At the same time, you look at all the factors going into that play. I think if you're a Twins fan, you are justified to be upset by that.
Be gun shy. Be gun shy. When you make a decision as bad as he made to send CJ Cron of all people, I might be able to beat CJ Cron in a race. To send CJ Cron
Careful here,
against
Ramie.
one of the best arms in baseball, my speed would surprise you, against one of the best arms in baseball on a hard hit ball to right field that wasn't even that deep. What is he doing? What is he doing in the biggest series of the year? What is he doing? The vent line is open at 651-646-8255 or tweet us at SKOR North. What is he doing, Derek Wetmore?
Impromptu Twins vent line. I think it's necessary.
Yes.
I think there are a lot of people who instead took to Twitter last night, and don't at me. That's okay. I didn't make the decision. I'm just writing about it. I'm talking about it on the radio, on podcasts, on Twitch, on YouTube, on
we're
Facebook,
streaming, by the way, Twitter, Twitch,
Periscope. Don't worry about it. I will talk about it in all those places. Oh, and the Score North mobile app, which is free.
Free app.
I will talk about it. I will write about it. I will assess it. I was there to ask Tony Diaz about it, to ask Rocco Baldelli about it, to talk with Jose Barrios after that game, to talk to Taylor Rogers after he served up a grand slam. Uncharacteristically bad inning for him. I'm there. I'm here for all of this. And yet, I have to put the pillar in the ground that says the Twins lost the series. The Indians have caught them. But here's the secret. They are tied with 44 games to go, and you've got a great baseball team in Minnesota. You're well within your rights to still just go and win this division. So by all means, let's melt down. Let's be mad at Tony Diaz for a day. Let's take this off day to just fume about this. And then flush it from the system and go take on the Milwaukee Brewers one series at a time.
I'm not even mad at him for making a bad call. I'm mad at him for standing by that call after the fact.
Oh, that could just be window dressing. That could be you got some scratches on the windows. Well, get a nice curtain, get some drapes, cover that thing up, and distract the eye from the scuffs on the acrylic.
What were you about to say, Manny?
Well, no, I was just gonna say the problem is though, I don't think a lot of people are gonna want to let this go with Tony Diaz.
Right.
Because our guy Patrick Royce was talking about that this morning on his Unchained video hit that he did with Judd, that your third base coach, and this goes for not just Tony Diaz, but pretty much any third base coach that makes a blunder like that, or waves somebody home when he shouldn't have, or holds somebody at third when he should have waved them home. People don't let that go. That kind of hangs over the head of any third base coach that makes a mistake like that. Like, people do, for whatever reason, they don't know how to let that go. So I think this is going to hang over this past weekend is going to hang over Tony Diaz's head, at least with the fans, for a little while.
There are exceptions to that, and I know that because I come from a city where there's an exception to that. Their third base coach, Ed Cedar, I think was the third base coach the entirety of my 13 years in Milwaukee, through like 4 managers, because he was part of the very good team from the 80s. I think he was part of the World Series winning team from the 80s. And he had like people in the front office and blah, 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 who were very fond of him. He was a fan. Like, fans would turn on him, and then it would be like, it's Eddie. it's old Eddie Cedar. So what if he's a windmill over there just waving Eddie and everybody around? No, man. It's Eddie, man.
The windmill. That's a pretty good. We got to have, at the very least, you guys. So I will say, Manny, you're right. They're within the Twins clubhouse. Tony Diaz, supremely popular guy. Very well liked.
Yeah.
Positive, upbeat, always a smile on his face. Even after yesterday, I was talking to him and I was kind of put the needle to him a little bit. I got to ask the tough questions here. And he was smiling. He's like, you know what? Yeah, we lost, but, I live by that decision and all that kind of thing. I think what would help, Ramie, you mentioned the windmill. That's not bad. We got to get a nickname for Tony Diaz.
Well, Royce this morning said, I think he's going to call him
Turbo Tony.
Turbo Tony.
Turbo Tony. Because he'll just send anybody in any situation.
Keep going through.
That's pretty good. We got to, if somebody's calling into Twins Vent Line and has a nickname for it, I'd like to hear it. I'm all ears. It's got to be, it can be in jest. It's fine, but it can't be like mean-spirited. We're not about that here. That's not what the Score North First Place Twins show does.
Not too mean-spirited.
Yeah, it can be. You can poke fun.
Hey,
it's baseball clubhouse.
A little jab.
Just guy stuff.
A little jabby jab.
That's fine. Be okay with that.
I don't even I don't know, man. I don't know what should be done about this. I know nothing probably will, but man, was that too.
Well, they should talk about it.
That was 2 really bad decisions in 2 days in the biggest series of the season.
Flew to Milwaukee last night. Crack a bottle of wine. That's not a very long flight, so maybe not. Maybe you just have a little airline alcohol.
You can do a bottle of wine.
Crack open your gin or a little Tito's vodka or something.
You can crack a full-size bottle of wine.
I suppose if you got a whole coaching staff here to congregate and talk about, hey, cool with the mistake. And Rocco said they never analyze it after the fact. He said that's not fair to do. I'm going to call BS on that. I think they probably do analyze those things, and not to turn the screws, not to say, hey, are you sure you're good enough to do this job? No, it's let's learn. Let's assess the facts that went into this in the decision-making process. And ultimately, it's a snap decision. So you can't say like, well, did you make sure to carry the 4 and like compute that? And did you include that Brad Hand as part of your formula? It's like, that's fun to do after the fact. Trust me, I know, because I did it for the 5 Thoughts column on scorenorth.com yesterday. But if you're on the Twins coaching staff, if you're Rocco Baldelli, I think what you do, you pat Tony Diaz on the back, you throw your arm around him, you pour him a nice tall glass of Merlot next to yours and say, hey, let's just figure this one out together so that we can get better for it for next time. I think that's the only productive way to treat this, Ramie. Again, it's not long enough of a flight to maybe take down the whole bottle. But...
I don't even know like how him owning it would make anything better. It would make me feel better. I don't know, man. I just have a problem with the guy making 2 decisions that bad
and doubling down,
being like, yeah, no, I'd do it again. Would you really? Because if you would,
we'll see.
If you would, Rocco Baldelli needs to see you in his office, or Derek Falvey or Thad Levitt or somebody needs. If that's the conversation that he had with Rocco or whoever he answers to about that decision or those decisions that he made, that he stands by it and he would do that 10 times out of 10, like, dude, it's been real. You know what I mean? If he really believes what he said, what I read, then you have to make a change. I can't have that guy in the next high stakes situation making those kinds of calls.
That's interesting.
Do you think the Corona one on Saturday is easier to forget because they won the game anyway?
Yeah. Yeah, but that might have been a worse decision.
Yeah, probably.
Has he seen Yasiel Puig throw a baseball? I know he's been in the National League his whole career, but he has to have at some point seen Yasiel Puig throw baseball.
Well, do the Dodgers ever play? Do they ever play his Rockies? I would assume that matchup happened a time or two.
Tony,
So,
Rick tweets in, how about Tony Olay?
Tony Olay?
That's got me thinking about something else. Come on, Dorn, get in front of the damn ball. Don't give me any of this Olay.
There's a lot more to get to in that 4-game series over the weekend. It's not all gloom and doom. I don't know if I wasted people's time ranting and raving this first segment, but
Heck no, you speak for 95% of
I
Twins fans.
couldn't believe when I read that this morning. I just could not believe it.
I do have some good news
You do.
that we can do after the break because, I mean, some doom and gloom absolutely necessary, but as the pillar of optimism, I do feel like kind of obligated
All
to
right.
come with some good news. And again, you're tied after losing 3 or 4 to the Indians at home. That's the bad news. The good news, you're tied in first place in the American League Central with a great baseball team and 44 games to go. You're within your rights to go get that done.
And on pace to win 97 games.
Makes for a fun race.
Pretty good. That's pretty good.
Makes for a fun race.
This is a pretty great spot to be. It just doesn't feel like it this morning.
I'm starting to calm down a little bit.
Should we light a candle or
got that out
something?
of my system. You said you have some positive stuff coming up later in the show.
I just got a text from the Twins that will make you smile a little
All
bit,
right,
Ramie.
cool. And the vent line is open to you if you need to get stuff off your chest at 651-646-8255 or tweet us at SKOR North. It's the Score North First Place Twins show live from Bombasota, the land of 10,000 rakes. Magic number 45. We're back after this on 1500scorenorth.com and the Score